once again, and this time it's Pascoli who shuffles them up and says, I'm going back to square one.
He did have a tough hand on whether or not to decide to mulligan that. He had what looked like enough mountains, but no swamp sitting on a black card, and you really can't afford to keep a hand that didn't have the early drops like you needed. John Finkel, on the other hand, hasn't had to declare a mulligan. Of course, when you mulligan, the player playing first has to declare, and then the player playing second gets to declare. It looks like Finkel might have a decision to make on whether to mulligan. He's got 5 planes, a Kifkin Harbinger, and the Mosquito Guard. Mosquito Guard would give him a 1-drop, of course, but he would miss a 2-drop.
All right.
Of course, missing a 2-drop and then following up with 3-drop into Kifkin Zephyronaut or Kinsbale Balloonist or Weisensend. A lot of good plays for him there.
I was chatting with one of the staff at the pro shop about the sleeves because it was the first time she'd been here, and she said, I was just amazed at the number of sleeves that went out the door. And I said, things have really changed there. It used to be just a real fashion accessory, and now pretty much everyone plays in sleeves. And these Magic the Gathering ones, they're kind of funky.
Yeah, a lot of people were excited at the local store I played at when I brought some home from Valencia, and they said, where can you get those? And as far as I know, the pro shop's the only place that you can get them at, and they're very good. Ooh, John hit his 2-drop. The Kinsbale Skirmisher, perfect 2-drop for him.
2 mountains.
Pascoli shaking his head after he draws.
That was body language and no mistake. Well, Sunfire Shaman, but no third land. All right, Finkel, can he capitalize?
Looks like John drew another land.
Yep. And now he must decide. Will he offer an apparent trade?
Happy to get in with the Mosquito Guard.
Yep.
Trade that 1-drop for the 2-drop. It's always good when you can trade up a creature you paid less mana for than your opponents.
Explain why. Yeah, what's the deal with that?
Well, it means they spend a lot more mana trading resources, so it's you're trading up, is what they call that.
Okay, fair enough. Kifkin Harbinger, now, does he go Wiz and Send?
Yeah,
presumably, because this is like the aggro start.
Yep. That's part of the reason he didn't get in with that Kinsbale Skirmisher. By playing the Send next turn, he'll have a 3/3 bashing into that Sunflare elemental.
Yeah.
And that will force his opponent to heavily consider whether or not he should block the Mosquito Guard.
If you're Pascoli, you really want to land pretty soon.
Or a Tarfire, or an Ag Light sending with a Swamp.
Well, what you've drawn is Release the Ants, which is quite good with, 10 mana and a 6 casting cost spell on top.
Yep.
Not so hot with 2 mana up.
No, it would allow him to potentially get to 4 mana and try to win the Release the Ants clash. It's one of those interesting cards, actually. You mentioned in the early coverage that that was one of the exciting cards you wanted to see if an opponent was at 3 life.
Yeah.
Release the Ants, win the clash. Andre Coimbra, a Portuguese player, was the 0-2 bracket, wound up playing against a Brit, your own Stuart Wright, in the 3rd round in the feature match area. That's actually how he exited the tournament.
Yeah.
Stuart managed to hit on the Release the Ants clash and got him from 2 life.
Yes, Andre Coimbra said he hadn't really done an awful lot of work for this one. That shorthand for none, and he kind of paid the price for that. Had some interesting card choices in his deck, and when you die to Release the Ants like that, you kind of feel maybe the Magic gods aren't smiling on me this year.
Yep. Mario Pascoli opted to use the Release the Ants on the Mosquito Guard. Interesting choice to do it on his main phase. By clashing, he knows his opponent has a 2-drop on top, so he is slightly less likely to win, but his opponent's also tapped out, so he's got no tricks he can play to save the 1/1, and he guarantees that it hits the Ben.
There's your swamp.
Yep, he saw that on top and left it.
Yep.
Can be rough when you win the clash and you have to leave the land on top. Normally you like to clash that card to the bottom so you can improve your draw step, but it doesn't get much better for him in that draw. He really needs that land to get out back ahead.
One little red monster on the left. 3 increasingly threatening white monsters on the right.
The red one gets a lot more threatening when there's some elementals in the graveyard causing those 2-for-1s, but right now there are not, so it's not that scary.
Pascoli continues to ponder, and I'm not talking 1 blue.
Speaking of ponder, we were speaking with coverage head Greg Collins, who talked to John in between matches a little bit and said that John, after realizing he was going to have to play Pascoli, regretted taking a ponder during the draft over a Wings of Velasvel he had the opportunity to grab. Seems like that could have been a real big difference in this matchup, although he did get a Shields of Velasvel, if I recall, for his sideboard to counter Thundercloud Shaman.
Right, so the theory being that if he had the wings of Velisfell, Thundercloud Shaman could go, well, for 2 or for 3, and instead Finkel goes, well, my guy's a 4/4 flyer.
Sure.
So essentially it's a counterspell.
Yep, and the great thing about John Finkel is that he read that Pascoli would wind up with the Chandra Nalar,
Yes. Yeah.
according to Greg. One of the hardest working men on the Pro Tour, very rarely seen in front of the cameras.
He won't do it. He won't do it. I say, can I interview you for the audio coverage? He's like, no, I'm too good looking for the audio coverage. So,
Flamekin Harbinger hits. Going to be interesting to see if Pascoli finds an elemental to put on top there, or whether he just skips it to try to hit the land instead. Could hit a Banneret. Scott Johns from the floor pointing out that would reduce the mana cost of some of the cards in his hand. Although it does decrease the chance that he does hit that land. Sometimes that can be more important. It looks like he's just going to miss on the find, so not taking Scott's hint to heart.
So 12 to 20. The mechanics of the game continue. Finkel untaps. There we go. There's a spring in his step at the moment as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sunflare Shamans really do a number on that combat step, as we see John's hand sitting on at least 2 planes.
It looks like he's got Sen's Air as well. Is that a coordinated barrage in his hand?
I couldn't tell for sure, but he definitely does have the Sen's Air.
All right, so we're going, yes, that's fine, says Mario. I'm not sure he means that's fine, but he's saying, yeah, that's fine.
It's not too bad for him, because the Sunflare Shaman now is a 2-for-1. Can kill the... Ooh, was that the
Preeminent Captain
Yeah,
and
wow.
Sen's Air. And there is some shifting in the arena at that play.
Oof, boy, that changes things with that Sunflare Shaman. You thought it was going to hit the Wisensen, but not knowing what John's got in his hand, it might be forced to take out the Preeminent Captain early. Of course, that puts him in a real bad spot, especially with the Sen's Air potentially getting big.
Okay.
1 card. Use 3.
Yeah.
This is a pretty strange game yet again, when we saw that, again, Pascoli seemed to be well in it with four red monsters on the left against 2 and 3 on the right, and then suddenly, no, not happening.
Yep, that last game was definitely interesting. This one's turning out to be a bit of a romp, just because Pascoli got short on those lands the first couple turns. So
okay, we're just hearing incidentally that comment about the wings of Velisfell. No, it was the shields of Velisfell that he passed up. So in that sense, an even truer counterspell for Thundercloud Shaman.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just that it gives the creatures +0/+1, but the fact that it turns them all into giants, nullifying the Thundercloud effect.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
So, Preeminent Captain, and out comes bonus monster, and Sen's Air 6/6.
Yep.
Pascoli at 10, facing 5 men in the red zone, 1 blocker. You've got to say, John Finkel's going to be just 1 game away.
Yep, it looks like it. It's going to kill the Sen.
So you take
2, 3,
5.
5. You go 5.
Yeah, I take 5, I'm on 5. 4 monsters to none.
Pretty close here. It's not looking good. That was a heck of a draw by John to hit that Great Heart when he had just the lands in his hand. 5 mana for Pascoli. Still believe has that makeshift mannequin in his hand.
So 5 to 20 is the score. Pascoli took 5 that turn. There it is.
A Thundercloud Shaman would buy him a little bit of time. He'd kill 2 of John's creatures and give him a 4/4 body to block. That might put John on the back foot by forcing him to try to hit a few creatures to swarm. But yeah, that was hitting the soldier for the Preeminent Captain was pretty solid.
So Fester Creep.
Fester Creep, very good. That could nullify 2 of the creatures again.
Yes, he's going to probably have to do this earlier rather than later, because he can't let the Sen's Air attack, can he?
No, and looks like he's gonna do it in his upkeep. He couldn't do it on his turn and risk getting the Surge of Thought Wealth out of John's hand if he happened to have it, simply because if he does, he's gonna miss